Whether you're Jeff Bezos or you're Warren Buffett or you're Mark Zuckerberg, if you're super successful or if you're just like broke as a joke, if you dream something, your brain is going to immediately follow up with, well, that's not possible, right? That could never happen because of this. That doesn't mean you have a faulty brain. It means you have a perfectly designed, healthy, functioning, normal human brain because the brain is trying to keep you safe. But if you're going to brainwash yourself for success, you have to suspend that. What if you could actually brainwash yourself for success? What if becoming a successful person, becoming wealthy and influential and having significant roles in the world or in your company or in your nonprofit, what if achieving these kinds of impacts and being able to do these things in the world are connected to your brain? Well, I believe they are. I believe they are because this has been my personal experience. I have gone from being raised by a single mother in a trailer park to becoming one of the most recognizable speakers in the world, inducted into the Hall of Fame and a New York Times bestselling author, but also because I have studied ultra performers my entire life. And in this video, I want to share with you the 4 steps to brainwashing yourself into achieving success. 4 things that if you do them, you won't be able to avoid success. It will happen automatically. It will happen as a byproduct. So let's get started. What I want to talk to you about is something that we actually call the creation principle of integrity. And it comes right out of my first book, Take the Stairs, which was a #1 Wall Street Journal bestseller and a #2 New York Times bestseller. And I have to say, I'm always shocked at every time when somebody reads that book or if they hire me and they bring me in to speak, that this one element is what people hang on to the most. And it is about programming our mind. It is about training our brain to think about success. And when I wrote the book, I never would have thought that this would have been the thing that people hang on. And so before I talk about the 4 steps to actually do this, to program your mind, I first want to talk to you about what your mind is. And the thing you need to understand is that the human brain is a computer. The human brain is just like a computer. See, computers don't do things that are good or bad. Computers do exactly what you tell them to do. Computers do, programs do, software does exactly what you tell it to do. If you program it with the right programming, it will do the thing you want it to do. If you program it with the wrong programming, it will not do that thing. So it's not so much that like the computer or the application is bad, it's the programming. And the same thing is true about you. The exact same thing is true about you and your brain. And the human brain will do whatever you tell it to do. If you are looking for an excuse, your brain will process on whatever the issue is until it finds a justifiable, rational explanation, or call it an excuse, to protect you from doing something that maybe you don't really want to do or that isn't really comfortable for you to do. If you're trying to find a way, if you're trying to find an answer, if you're trying to find a solution, your brain will process on that until it finds a solution. This is why you go to sleep at night sometimes and you're thinking about a problem, right? You fall asleep and you're all worried about something, and then you wake up in the middle of the night or the next morning and you're like, oh, I know what to do. How does that happen? It's because your subconscious is processing on that problem to find an answer. In fact, this points to another principle in the Take the Stairs methodology that is called the buy-in principle of commitment. And one of the things that we said is that you have to intentionally create the question how, so that you don't accidentally relent to the question should. Because if you say, should I do this? Can I do this? Is this possible? your brain will basically move in a direction to say, no, it's not. This is unsafe. This might not work out, or you may not be equipped for this or that or whatever. But if you say, how is this possible? How could I pull this off? How could I make this happen? When you ask that question, how, it sets your brain on a completely different trajectory. It moves your brain down a completely different path, and your brain will process on the question, how, until the answer comes. The brain is happy to do whatever you tell it to do. Well, this is really important, because if you want to create different results in your life, you have to change the way that you think. The next level of results always requires the next level of thinking. The next level of results always requires the next level of thinking. Why? Because permanent changes in our actions, permanent changes in our behavior are only reinforced through permanent changes in our thinking. We can't try to get ourselves to do something that in our mind we're telling ourselves this is stupid, or it doesn't matter, or this will never work. The body won't keep doing something if it is in misalignment with the brain. So if you can get your brain aligned and you get your brain moving in the right direction, your body will fall in line and your actions will fall behind that, which actually brings us to the creation principle of integrity. And these are the 4 parts I wanted to talk to you about. So here is the creation principle of integrity, simply laid out. You think it, you speak it, you act, and then it happens. You think it, you speak it, you act, it happens. You think it, you speak it, you act, it happens. All of creation, everything that has been created in the world, follows this simple creation process. You think it, you speak it, you act, and it happens. Because before, everything from like the chair that you're sitting in to, the house that you live in, right? This is our house. And this house was once a dream. And before the house was a dream, we had to do something that would give us enough money to buy the house. And that was a dream, which was a company, was our first company. And so whenever you create something, you have to create it first in your mind. You have to think it. And this is a really important part, right? So this is how this works, is I have to give myself permission to think it. I have to at least grant myself enough of a window to suspend belief about whether or not it's possible, and allow myself to just think. Because here's something that I believe to be true. If you have a hard time creating it in your mind, you'll never create it in real life. If you can't create it in your mind first, you'll never create it in real life. You have to be able to picture the solution, picture the outcome, picture the product, picture the service, picture the success, picture the house, picture the business, picture the goal, picture the dream. You have to be able to picture it in your mind first. If you can see it in your mind first, then you can reverse engineer from there to make it become real, or become, like it can become real. It can manifest, so to speak, into real life. But you have to give yourself permission first to think it. Why? Because every person, whether before they're successful or not, every person, when we set out a huge dream, right? When I was living in a trailer park, when I grew up and, we didn't have much money, I couldn't afford the nicest clothes, the shoes. Like I never got to have Air Jordans. I had Air Jordache, right? And like as a kid, I very distinctively remember not being able to afford Air Jordans. And that was like all I wanted. Well, the idea of saying, hey, one day you'll be very wealthy, in that moment, like, seems impossible. And that's always how it is. The first time that I said I was going to win the world championship of public speaking, that seemed impossible. The first time I said I'm going to be a New York Times bestselling author, it seemed impossible. To become an 8-figure entrepreneur, that seemed impossible. To have the house of my dreams, that seemed impossible. To have the wife of my dreams, that seemed impossible. And so it will seem impossible. Why? Because the human brain is not designed for success. The human brain is designed for survival. And survival is about conserving energy. And so left to its own device, the brain will default to keeping you safe, because when you're safe, it conserves energy, which prolongs, your life. At least that's sort of like how it works. But that's not how you become successful. It's not by doing things that are safe. You become successful by doing things that are uncomfortable. Often there are things that are a calculated risk, not just blindly risky, but they're risky. They're calculated risks. And so your brain is going to tell you, anybody, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're Jeff Bezos or you're Warren Buffett or you're Mark Zuckerberg, right? Or you're Sarah Blakely, or you're Oprah Winfrey. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're super successful, or if you're just like broke as a joke, like basically homeless, if you dream something, your brain is going to immediately follow up with, that's not possible, right? That could never happen because of this. That doesn't mean you have a faulty brain. It means you have a perfectly designed, healthy, functioning, normal human brain, because the brain is trying to keep you safe. But if you're going to brainwash yourself for success, you have to suspend that. You have to temporarily ignore that. You have to create a space for yourself that is separate from that. You have to go, for now, I'm just going to push aside whether or not it's realistic. And I'm just going to allow myself to sit in the space of what it is I want, of the dream I feel called for. You think it, right? It first exists as a thought. So you think it. Then step 2 in the creation process is that you speak it. You think it, you speak it, you act, and then it happens. So you have to, like, words are the first manifestation of our ideas into real life. So what happens is I have this thought of this thing I want to create or this thing I want to have. At that moment, it exists now, but it exists only in my mind. Words are the first manifestation of that idea into the real world, meaning I can write them or I can speak them. They can take shape. The idea can take shape as words on a page, or the spoken word that somebody else can see. Often from words, we create pictures. And now we create a picture. Often from pictures, we create models, right? We create instructions, and then we create models. And that's how creation happens. You think it, you speak it. Now, this matters because whatever you tell yourself to be true is what becomes true. So if you're saying it could never happen, if you're saying this is impossible, your brain is going to automatically accept that as truth, whether or not it's true. I'm not saying necessarily that anything and everything is possible. I'm saying that a whole lot more is possible for you than you realize, and you're shutting it down. You're tempering your creativity. You're squashing it. You're squelching it through the words you're saying about yourself, or through the people you hang out with, or the people that you're around. And they're squelching you because they don't believe it's possible for themselves, because they've been telling themselves their whole life it's not possible. So whatever you tell yourself about yourself, and whatever other people say about you that you believe over and over, or that you hear over and over, is what you start to believe. You think it, you speak it. Now, once you speak something and you write it, right? And maybe you create a picture, maybe you create instructions, a model, then step 3 of the creation process happens, which is you act. You think it, you speak it, and you act. And now you go, wow, here's a plan. Here's a picture. Here's a model. Here's a hypothesis. Here is some steps. Here is, an action, a set of actions that I think could maybe lead to something. And so you start taking those actions. So now this is where your body falls in alignment with your brain. You said one thing, and you said it so much that you started to believe it. And this is the importance of the connectivity, of understanding the psychology of the human brain. The human brain does not believe what is true, just like a computer does not believe what is true. The human brain believes whatever you tell it most often. The human brain believes whatever you tell it most often. That might be north, but if I tell myself, and other people tell me 1,000 times that that is north, eventually I will believe that this other direction is north, right? How do you know your name is your name? You believe your name is your name. Like, were you there when your parents named you? I mean, kind of, you probably were, but do you remember that moment? Probably not, right? Could you even hear it? Probably not. But how do you know your name is your name? Because you've been told it over and over and over and over again. How do you know that 2 + 2 is 4? Because you've been told it over and over and over again. Now, some of those things are true. They're backed by science and rationale and logic, right? But a lot of the things are not true. A lot of these things are misconceptions. They're people who are not maybe maliciously, they might not have malicious intent, but they're misinformed, and they tell you certain things aren't possible when they are, because there's people all around the world who are making money and buying the homes of their dreams and donating millions of dollars to charity and influencing millions of people, right? But it can't be possible if you don't first if you let it be possible in your mind. And if your words tell yourself it's impossible, it's going to shut down, because the human brain doesn't believe what's true. The human brain believes whatever you tell it most often. If you tell yourself something is possible, then your actions will reflect it. And now you're in alignment. And guess what? If your actions are in alignment, then your results are going to show up as a byproduct. It is going to happen. And that is a powerful moment, because it is inevitable. It is an automatic byproduct. It is a virtually guaranteed certainty that your actions will lead to your results. I mean, it is a certainty. Your results are directly influenced by your actions, and that will always take place. And then once you have had actual results, guess what that does? It reinforces your thinking. It reinforces your mindset that these results cause you to go, oh, that is possible, or that isn't possible. You think it, you speak it, you act, and then it happens. And so those are the 4 steps of how to brainwash yourself. Look, if you tell yourself, if you have the thought, or someone else gives you the thought that you're stupid, then you're going to tell yourself that school is dumb, education is dumb, I shouldn't invest in myself, it's a waste of time to read, it's a waste of time to learn. And if you tell yourself that, and you believe, then you're going to start to believe that. So then do you think you're going to take the action of learning? Do you think you're going to take the action of studying? Do you think you're going to take the action of getting coaching and getting advice and getting consulting? No, you're not going to take that action. And if you don't take that action, you're not going to learn different things. And so if you don't learn different things, you can't do different things. And if you don't do different things, you're never going to get different results. But if you tell yourself, you know what, I'm smart, I can figure anything out. Learning is valuable. Other people have the answers. Other people have done this. There's someone in the world that has figured this out, and I'm going to find them. So then you tell yourself that, and then you speak it out. Then what happens is you learn and you study and you get educated and you get coaching and you get advice and you get wisdom and you get counsel, and you learn how to do things, how to make money, how to build a company, how to help other people, how to create significant things. And so then once you know what the things are, it's easy enough to do them, because now you go, oh, if I want this to come true, and this is how, the only thing that's missing is action. So you take the action, and then the results show up. You think it, you speak it, you act, it happens. That is the creation principle of integrity. It is one of the 7 key distinctions of how ultra performers think that is different from everybody else. It is how you literally brainwash yourself into success. And I'm telling you, the world's wealthiest, most successful people, and also some of us who have started from the very, very bottom and had virtually nothing, have achieved great things and helped lots of people, because we learned and understood and applied the creation principle of integrity.